that did it. He asked me to signal him. Okay. It having passed 6:30, we are going to open the planning board meeting Thursday, May 14th, 2026. Can we stand? We don't have a oh. There's a flag. Can you stand and do a pledge of allegiance?
I just noticed you can't see me on the camera's not even looking. I don't want to see.
Here, come sit. We'll squeeze in.
Nope, I'm gonna stay here. You can trade quick.
We just scroll down.
No, just leave it to the end. Put me out the pasture. Look, see, you can see me. That's probably a good thing, actually.
The first item on the agenda is we've recently had an election. I would like to welcome Margot Bloomstein to a start a 5-year term.
No, 2 year term.
Oh, 2-year term. You're right.
5.
Okay. Bartlett has been reelected to a 5-year term. The next thing is board elections. I would like to put myself forward for chairman for 1 more year.
I would like Jeff to stay on as chair for another year. We've had a very difficult project in front of us, and Jeff has done a wonderful job for the past few years in navigating us through that, and it makes sense for him to finish what he started. And I would nominate Jeff as chair for the planning board for this year. I'll second that nomination.
Can we have a vote?
You gotta say all those in favor say aye. That's
All
this
those in
works.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice chair, I would like to keep our current vice chair. He's done an excellent job. He's extremely organized where I sometimes am not. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, when we come to clerk,
Usually stick the new person with it.
Wow.
Provide the
Wow.
honor to the new person.
that's
I need
right.
to go get coffee
That's
too.
right.
No, you don't get it. No.
And actually, since Bartlett has 5 million appointments to committees that he's on, would you be willing to give up your clerkship for Marco? There's basically
Well, I was going to ask,
guess.
what does the clerkship entail?
nothing.
It doesn't do anything.
It's from a bygone era.
Trusting staff enough to sign what we put in front of you,
Yeah, you see it.
and letting us know how much review time you want, if any, for the documents that we put your signature on.
Okay.
Every time we approve something, she calls up and says it's okay for her to sign.
Fair,
We
okay.
used to have a stamp, but that's what you could remember.
So can we appoint Mark? Can I hear everyone in favor of Margot Bloomstein as clerk? Say aye.
Aye.
The next thing is the CPC. We have a dedicated appointment to that. I'm currently doing that. I very much enjoy doing that, and I would like to keep doing that. Do we have any objection?
No.
All in favor of Jeff Yates for CPC, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. It now being 6:35, we're going to go to board business. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes of April 2026? No. That being said,
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 30th, 2026.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Public input. Is there anyone here at the meeting who would like to speak to a matter that is not part of subsequent hearings that we're going today? If not, we will move on. We have a few minutes before the continued public hearing, King Street Common, 550 King, Town Green.
This one won't matter. Just came up.
Oh, just came up, okay.
So we have the annual letter from Accounting Department asking asking the board to vote on how they would like signatures done for payroll and for bills. So payroll is done by department head into the system, and then bills right now we have Jeff sign those, chair sign those.
These bills are basically peer review reimbursements.
Most of the bills are
Yeah.
peer reviews.
I'd like to continue the practice of having the chair sign the bills, have them available for the board to review at their leisure, but not necessarily
That's
burden
a,
everybody.
that's
with
actually a
signing.
good point, because when they're presented to me, I can just pass them down the line. Who's interested. So you have some, so you guys take a look at these and then pass them back, and I'll.
Yeah, and actually the accounting department, it works better for them if they have a vote on that, so.
So, may I?
Make a motion to approve Jeff Yates to sign bills and payroll.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's a lot of power.
I was just asking Cooper about, we had looked at future board meetings. Has everyone had a chance to at least look at through the summer? And I'm really talking about the regular planning board meetings. The extra meetings we'll have to, work around people's schedules. Was there anyone that had a conflict or that we need to take into account?
Was this, can you just review? I've got down June 4th, July 9th, August 6th.
6th, September 3rd.
I don't have any conflicts that I've been told about yet.
Well, that I had to do that too, yeah. But at least we can clear those dates.
Yeah, and I sent Cooper, I think, one of the additional meetings, I had one conflict.
Okay. So,
Thank you, it's very helpful to have that.
we don't really know at this point about extra, but we're here to move things along. Anything else we have like a minute to?
One thing that we added to the cover page, it wasn't on the agenda, was the appointment to Magic representative.
Is that you?
It's Cooper.
Cooper, okay.
He's happy to continue, but
Okay.
I just wanted to officially open
Do we need to vote on it, or
that.
just, what do you want us to do?
You just,
How about this? I make a motion to appoint Cooper to be our magic representative.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Cooper. Okay, so 6:40, we're continuing the public hearing for the King Street Common Stormwater Review and Site Plan for the town. Who do we have here to talk today about the latest?
I don't think the Zoom is connected here, but I can pull up the presentation.
Can we get the movie setting, somebody to the movie setting on the lights too? Just touch the pad and
Yeah, I think it says cinema and it'll lower the lights down.
or one of the two. Thank you. My name is Joe Ficacello. I'm a senior landscape architect at Powers and Fine and Bond. We are the landscape architect consultant for this project under Rapoli, and I'm also a resident at 1 Bumblebee Lane. And so tonight we're going to go through just some slides that are a response to some of the questions, clarifications needed from the last meeting. where we presented the town green. Next slide. So just to refresh everybody's memory, here's the town green. This is what we presented last time. Next slide. And one of the requests was that we overlay where the Tuttle House is in relation to the town green, essentially the project as a whole too, in order to better understand the relationship of the town common, where it is now, Tuttle House. We can all sort of visualize that and get a better understanding as to where that town green will be there. So that's what we're looking at here.
Can I ask a question? Are those trees on the left side of the screen part of the plan? Is that what you're proposing? I know it's not part of the
On the left side
green.
of the Tuttle House?
Yeah, on the
No, so that's no, not that hasn't been designed yet. Where the parking lot is,
okay.
It's a placeholder.
right? Placeholder.
So there's nothing you can tell us about what's going to go there.
Not right now because we haven't looked at it yet.
What's in the building that's under the name Tuttle House? Is that defined?
Placeholder as well, yeah. We intend to come back to the board once we have a plan for that.
Okay, I'm just asking because early on, the town green went around the Tuttle House and it was wider at the street. I think that would be beneficial depending on what you guys do at the far side there.
Our intention is to come before, well, preview in the next few weeks what we intend to do with the Tuttle on other pieces as well as soon as
That's
possible.
after this is approved. And so
Yep.
I'm just,
Understood.
While we do have that up, that parking lot is totally inappropriate.
Yeah, apologies, that should be grayed out. It's just a placeholder.
Okay.
That's really,
I'm just saying that
That's
if
the
you
new lot
presented
law.
something like this, you know, it
appreciate
wouldn't go.
it.
Those are actually the other buildings that you own now, right?
Yeah, so it's more the more recent acquisition, so there's nothing planned there at this moment. So someone just took the liberty to make it a parking lot for now. So, but I appreciate the thought. Next time we try to avoid showing other things like this because we don't want to confuse anyone. Thank you, Coach.
sorry.
So, and then one more before we
Sure.
leave the Tuttle House. We, first of all, when we're talking of the Tuttle House, I think we can talk about the old part of the Tuttle House. The back part of the Tuttle House was built as a conference center and isn't necessarily part of the historic concern about it. Second thing is, I think we can, when we have to talk about this as a board, but make a condition that the Tuttle House does not move from this site. And that if it is moved as part of the town green, once again, we have to talk about this among ourselves, but if it is, moved, it will be moved as part of the construction of the town green. We need some place for it to go so that it isn't just lost in the sauce.
Understood. Yeah. Understood.
And I agree that, first of all, the Tuttle House was moved originally when they developed it in the
Right.
first place. And as Jeff said, the back of it was just added on by Digital way back when. The only part of it of significance is really that front piece.
And I believe earlier this year we toured with some of the historic commission members through the property as well. That's good insight. I don't know the building as well, so good to understand that part.
Is there an opportunity, like rather than kind of moving it around as like this thing that we have to work around, to build it in more so that the town green speaks to it? Because I mean, it's obviously like literally and figuratively this wonderful representation
There's
of
some,
Littleton history.
I know that there's grading issues, not issues, but again, we're sort of have, I think it's like 6 feet in the back, higher in the front for the proposed condition, right? And so, we can't really kind of build around.
Can I just jump in?
Go ahead.
Sorry. So our intention is to move the Tuttle House, keep it on site, and integrate it into the property of the project in the town in a very deliberate way, not have it be in some back corner or whatever else. So we're working through that and looking to come before the board as soon as possible. It'll be really one of the next phases that we speak to as part of the holistic process. But I feel like that, I think you're gonna be happy with what we're trying to do to make it feel intentional, not forgotten as part of everything else. As Joe was sort of getting to, it's the current location right now really inhibits our ability to be successful with the town green and these other pieces that we're trying to create here. So because of the topography, the way it's sunk in right now and the way it integrates. But I think we're excited to show you what we're going to do with it, because some of it's based on feedback we've gotten from the board already and some of these comments that have been made in the past. So we're trying to be responsive to that. So I would just I think we'll let you guys talk about how you want to address it tonight, but there's definitely, I think we're aligned high level what you're talking about, Jeff, too.
Okay, and then Margot, can I invite you to address your concern about the actual name of the town green?
Yeah. Yes. So I think based on both input that we've heard anecdotally from people in the town and I don't know, I guess sort of just like messaging in general, to call it the town green when we have the town common, I think at a minimum feels confusing, because they compete in terms of purpose and what it has historically represented in a New England community. And I think to go beyond that, it feels arrogant to call a new designed thing the town green, something that implies like this convivial community space when we have that. And I think if you can more clearly delineate what is the purpose, what has historically been the purpose of our town common and how is it used today, and what will be the purpose of this, which ostensibly sounds like it's maybe more social, there's more like opportunities around it for like hanging out and grabbing food from different restaurants and coffee shops and whatnot. Maybe there'll be movies on there or like bands, or we talked last time about like maybe a farmer's market. I think if you can more clearly delineate that difference, that will hopefully give a better name for it, so that as we're talking about it, as you're talking about it in the community, hopefully as we're kind of like socializing this idea, people can grab onto it for its distinct value rather than something that we're like, we already got one of those. What are you doing with that, you know?
Yeah, I would love to get your thoughts further on that. If you have any ideas for a name, I mean, truly, this is a placeholder. So I try not to get upset by thinking we were being arrogant about it.
No,
Certainly, we weren't like.
Are you
beating our
going to
chest.
call this something? I mean, the whole thing something. Like the point is the point now. Are you going to name this?
I mean, our current placeholder for now is King Street. Is truly calling it King Street with the logo. It's really capturing everything, but you know, it's there's nothing written in stone yet. I think that we've given some thought to, Mark. The town green, the streets, we're trying to think of ideas on other elements of this. We have really not. We had to call it something for the sake of us talking about it, and it got landed on the town green. So,
and I know that oftentimes placeholder nomenclature in a prototype becomes the final thing.
It can. No, it's fair. It's fair. It's a fair point. So I'm glad you said something. We would welcome feedback from the board and the community if there's ideas that mean something.
I think it's probably an opportunity for like more research on like the history, some participatory design. Nothing to come from us, but other than to say
maybe just changing the placeholder to King Street Common.
Sure.
You know.
Is that at least that distinguishes it from the town common?
Yep.
And
the development column.
One of the things that comes up is, you know, it would be a way of reaching out to the community to invite suggestions, as long as we don't end up with Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah.
But
classic.
You know,
well, I think it also has to. I mean, we can get into this, and this is, we are working on a website for this that we can integrate in that, and maybe the town can help us share it through the website of the town, so we can get more eyeballs on it. We would be up for that for sure. I mean, to your point though, Jeff, I think it's got to be something that people know that it is what it is, right? Whether it's common or parkway or park or something, or you know, with another identifier on top of it. But I hear you, Margot, on this idea of what can it be that's complementary. I think that's good feedback.
And just to add to that, I think, they're not going to call it phase one retail. And so what I mean by that is
The sign
we
will
need
be
to put
kinda
a sticker
dull.
on it for the
Yes.
time being, like you were saying, even just for submitting for permitting or all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So,
All copy is FPO, yeah.
Right, and and I think that we'll develop something that
The
does
apartments
speak to
won't be
the
jailed.
space, but that's the way we've been thinking about it. It's the green within the larger project. So for the time being, until we can get something better that fits.
Okay, we've interrupted you now.
Okay, so then the next, this is in response to the question about access into the site. And so all these blue lines represent either 2% walks or walks that are less than 5%. So all accessible. And so you can see up on that left side of the, now I'm going to be conscious about calling it the town green, the beautiful green space. That's the main access in if you're coming from the west, and it's a sloped walk. That also kind of leads into our lower kind of front lawn. And then you can continue north and of course keep kind of heading right into the pedestrian walkway and the retail shops in that direction. And of course you can keep heading north. If you're coming in between building 1200 and 1400, and you can park, you can see that the parking area right on King Street upper right, there's some accessible spots there that then kind of lead into either towards the green or within the retail shop zone there, the pedestrian walkway. I just want to note too that at the green, at the King Street side, that the right side there where we do have stairs, that lower green or the front lawn that we have there is no access from that edge. So in other words, all the access is sort of up and around because we have a wall there that needs to take up grade. And that's access.
I'm sorry, do you mind going back to that? Could you just explain that again? You said there's no access from King Street there?
No, there is access there. I'm just in terms of that lower space
Okay.
of the green. That is the main. Everybody has the same entry into that lower space.
What if somebody's pushing a stroller or?
They go. That's the accessible walk. Thank you. You can go up. There you go and in.
Okay.
So there's only there are sort of monumental stairs there, but those are more sort of for trying to create an edge or a zone there for hangout, for circulation reasons, to get into that lower lawn or the front lawn. That's where everybody goes to get in. And then the item of trying to reuse granite on the site, I think that's a great idea, and that's something that we are going to consider. I was about to say, it doesn't look like our squares are on that plan. So on the plan there, we did have highlighted areas, and they somehow.
I'm not actually sharing this.
Oh. Okay. So I can describe it. So if we're looking at the plan. So if we look at the upper lawn just in front of the back porch, we have the 3 trees on either side there. Within that zone there, we've identified those as areas that we think we can incorporate stone that's existing on site for reuse. And then if we look down on the front lawn there close to King Street, there's some planted areas just behind the pergola structure that we can incorporate them, and also just along that kind of entry zone we were talking about. So in other words, we think it's a great idea. We've highlighted some areas that we feel we can incorporate it in seamlessly and have it kind of enhance and be a part of the project and speak about the history of the site. So the images on the right are not, we're not saying that that's what anything's going to look like. It's just to illustrate how previous projects, how we've integrated reused material that's been on site existing to try to kind of keep that continuity of use and history.
Even the TV, unfortunately, that's a different, that's out of language I was talking about, but it's not a big screen.
Oh, where you have the.
Yeah. It's very confusing.
Technology. Okay.
So that's that. And then that's what we have, just some closing kind of. Oh, if you go back, we did add, there was one comment on adding some trees to the sort of that mid lawn area on the right side.
Okay, right. Okay. Bouquet of trees.
Okay, yes, a bouquet of trees. And I think that's going to be actually really nice. It's a way to sort of give a little bit green, a little sort of vertical green there. But it's sort of in keeping with our desire to have this space kind of really be this one zone and keep that as a nice kind of flexible zone from the paving to the middle lawn area, and then also kind of read out to the lush lawn as well. And that's what we have in response to our.
So I'm happy to know about the term of bouquet of trees. Bartlett was talking about a grove. A bouquet is, I think, pretty interesting. Is there any pear cultivar that you could come up with? I mean, the Calorie pears have sort of killed
I would not recommend that.
Yeah.
We could look into it, not that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, just look into it and see if there's something that could harken
I mean,
back.
traditionally, pears aren't pretty trees, even like fruity pears. They make great fruit, but they don't necessarily make great
Hence the calorie
trees.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask two tactical questions on this? I know last time we had raised the I don't want to say burning question, but the perennial question of bathrooms. And I think you had said, like, they're not on here right now, but next time we'll show you where they're going to be. Where are they going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I wish I had a cursor, but the upper left building, which is currently approved for hotel use, the plan is to put it there facing the green. And I misspoke or you misheard, but the idea is that when we come before this group soon with an updated plan for that phase, it will be integrated into that piece. And likely, we're also looking into adding bathrooms on the other side of the retail village on that phase as well, which we're calling 1600, which this board has not seen yet. So we're going to bookend the retail, really core village area with two different public bathroom areas. But because we weren't able to put it in the retail phase one, we're committing publicly now second or third time to definitely putting in that next phase. And what I would just give you any comfort, this King Street Common is benefits from us figuring out what to do on the other side of it, so it doesn't have this kind of temporary fence on one side. So it should hopefully get built. The goal anyway is to get built very close to this is one phase, so that the bathrooms are there almost on day one.
And then, I don't know if you would show it in this kind of overlay, but what's the plan for like public garbage cans out there? How frequently will they be? Just thinking, if somebody is out there, they've gone to like, maybe they're sitting out with like a picnic lunch or something like that. Their kid needs to go to the bathroom and they need to throw out garbage. How far do they have to walk?
I would say probably 50 feet or something. I mean, it's we're going to strategically locate them. A, so you can see them, and B, we really want to do that because otherwise, we're humans and we're lazy. We're just going to leave our trash there if it's not convenient. So I need to look at our site plan drawings. I'm 90% sure that we did show them on there, but they will be throughout because it's to the project's benefit to do that.
Cool.
And I think we have recycling. There'll be like a recycling trash. Right?
Cool.
Yeah, we as a group internally started looking at different trash can typologies and styles, and so we're definitely thinking about that. And it's in our interest if this starts becoming trash riddle. That's a huge operational problem. So even if for some reason we did it wrong day one, day two, we got to fix it. So
because I guess two notes on that, both from what I've heard, like for outdoor sort of entertainment, public gathering spaces, I think like every 30 feet is what people will walk voluntarily. It's like, that's like the standard from like the early 70s in Disney World. I don't know. But the other thing is, I know there have been problems at the Point with, and in the apartment or the housing kind of behind the Point with rats because of, I don't know if it's not enough garbage cans there or like the kitchen facilities and stuff or cooking facilities. And like a lot of residents have had problems with rats since the Point and its restaurants have been open. And I think that that's something to take into account with this, since there will be residential, obviously, as part of it, and then across the street, what we can do to like mitigate that, and if it's better garbage can stuff around like the restaurant kitchens. I'm raising the problem, I don't know the solution though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an operational challenge, but it's something that would be very important to us. And because we will be managing.
Yeah, that's the face that I made too. Yeah.
No. I mean, it's all integrated. And because we minimize the back doors of these places, there's really not very many of them. It's like everything has to be well maintained, which is a challenge, but I think it's imperative. So, but that's interesting to hear. It's I'm not surprised, I guess, but I also will be working through that for sure. Thank you.
Is there any possibility of moving that undefined lower building 10 feet left and putting a row of trees next to that, the beginning of the walkway?
Absolutely a possibility. I mean, there's a possibility that building goes away entirely, honestly.
I don't know if I'd ask you to go that far.
Well, not to say that we just don't know what we're really going to finalize there. And I think the hope is that it's something that helps counter-activate the other side of the King Street, I guess. And so, again, that's a placeholder, and I apologize if it's creating confusion. Joe, you're fired. No, I think I hear you, and I think we'll try to. We're definitely going to, make sure that it works with whatever retailer will go in there. But again, I can say yes now because I just don't know what we're really doing. Right. But I hear your comment.
But I think some more greenery near the street and a little bit asymmetry in there would help, just in design terms. I think it would make it more interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Board, any other comments? Maren, what is the status of the hearing?
So, let's see, Green provided their initial comments. We got initial feedback from the developers team today. They had responded to the comments. Green and development team and Cooper and I had a meeting today to review any outstanding comments, and they can all be put in the category of a few minor plan updates are needed, but it's easy to do from an engineering standpoint. So not difficult to resolve at all. So you could easily cover it with a condition.
What are the present conditions that we're considering in the draft decision? If you could go through them.
Yep. So general conditions, the site will be developed in accordance with the reference plans. Prior special permits.
We don't necessarily need the boilerplate, but if there,
yeah.
what conditions are specific to this?
So usually we have no parking of vehicles is allowed on any unpaved surface. In this particular case, where some of the green might be used for a farmer's market or when they're setting up for an event, you would need some vehicular access to the green spaces there. So we're trying to come up with some wording that the board can live with on that. Let's see. And then you had suggested a condition of how to handle the tunnel house.
And we had also suggested, and I don't think you got back to us, I might be wrong, but some bond amount to put the site back into shape, not necessarily with the hardscape and the landscaping, but just back into shape so that it's not an eyesore.
We agree to that. Sorry, I don't know if we may work clear on that, but that concept, yes.
Right, and right now we do have a condition that says town, The site will be an integral part of Phase 1 King Street Common Development. The site shall either be completed prior to occupancy of the third building of the Phase 1 commercial, or the site be brought to a minimum condition of graded and seeded / reclaimed.
And then, so, okay, so in lieu of a bond, you would hold up for your commercial, I don't know, I'd like that bond, you know, of some amount that we could agree on. Just so that if there is some interruption in your retail plans, that it just doesn't sit there and look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think one or the other, and if that's the bond is the preference, then I think it sounds like we're sort of being reasonable that it's not.
No, I think we are
something
being
that's
reasonable.
brought back to the grade and
We're trying to protect, you know, our view.
Right.
You know, and it would be a disaster if you had some interruption in your retail plans that you couldn't, you know, do the town green. There would be nice to have something to at least, you know, put it back in some semblance of order.
Understood.
Is there any comments from the board on that? Or on any other conditions there?
Yeah, so we just need to agree with the wording on the space will will require moving the total house, so we just need to put it, be specific about it. It's gonna be moved on site, subject to approval of the planning board.
And
Not that you can just
do we want
move
the
it anywhere
historic
you
commission
want. It's gonna
involved
be,
in that?
Yep.
We could also rope in the historic commission, you know, for their
Right.
judgment.
well, we can do that, but we
Right,
don't
they-
have to put that as part of the decision.
Right, and
Okay.
they certainly would comment on any phase where that uses the tall house as part of the final destination for it.
So, any other comments from the board regarding the site plan review?
This maybe predates my involvement, but do we have to approve that they're moving the stone walls? Like Massachusetts stone wall? Or did planning board already approve that?
No, we don't have to, 'cause it's not a,
It's not a scenic road.
Scenic route.
Oh, okay.
We have jurisdiction on walls that are in like the right of way,
Okay, but here,
but first of all, it's private property, and secondly,
we have scenic roadways in the town of Booth, in case you didn't know it.
so that being said,
We do actually.
pardon? Oh, thank you. Any public comments for anyone here
Go
tonight?
on.
Joanne?
It's funny, they quoted it a few years ago.
I'm Joanne Deary from Harwood Avenue. There was some talk of pear trees. I hope that the trees that are selected will be native to this area, and pears tend not to do well with snow load. If you want to see what the Calvary pears look like, go look at the entry to Littleton High School. Those Calvary pears are not happy trees, and they're now in the document that Steve Whitten has, they're not to be planted on public land because
We're not talking about planting calories.
oh, good. But any tree is not going to do well when 50% of its rhizosphere is covered by pavers or pavement. So you might want to think about trying to make sure those trees have enough, soil, soil that's open where they can get rainfall and have air exchange, because a lot of these trees, about half of their rhizosphere will be covered in the plan that's shown. It might be good to rethink that. And I'm really appreciative of the idea that it wouldn't be called the town green. I'm kind of offended by that name. We already have town common. I would suggest like King Street Plaza or the King Street Lawn, or something like that, but it's not our town green. We already have one of those. So thank you.
See, we've already got a couple suggestions.
Yeah, lawn sounds good.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sal's lawn.
I'm just gonna start naming things like green, not even green, just like square, something like innocuous maybe.
No.
Not me too fast.
Ready to close the public
I
hearing?
think so. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing for the stormwater permit and site plan review for the town green?
So moved.
Second.
I'm gonna do by, Mark, aye, or
Aye.
Margot? Bartlett?
Aye.
Aye.
Carol? And I'm an aye. So the hearing being closed, we can consider approving the present draft decision. Is there anyone who thinks we should hold off on that? No. Okay. That being said, we need a motion that will incorporate all these various, yes. Daryl, you can-
Yes, I make a motion to approve the, what's the name of the document here? The site plan decision and stormwater permit with the changes that we discussed at this meeting, including the placement of the Tuttle House, placement of a bond for completion, and what was the third one?
And then updating the standard, no parking on spaces to allow for, activities.
Temporary activities. Okay.
Can I have a second?
Second.
I'm gonna do a roll call. Mark,
Aye.
Margot,
Aye.
Bartlett,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, so Foreman's smiling. Our next, since it's past 6:50, what our next item is endorsing the King Street Common amended definitive subdivision Mylars and covenants. The 20-day appeal period has been, now, there's been a lot of back and forth about which at its heart is a basic subdivision covenant. What is our final disposition with town council and your council?
The version that was included in the meeting packet, and there's a couple copies here this evening. There's only one more comment from development team, and they're looking for leeway to their refinancing process to transfer parcels to an entity, and they're suggesting the wording or conveyance by deed or deeds of a lot or lots subject to this covenant to an entity or entities in which the Salvatore and Napoli has an ownership interest. That's what they propose in paragraph 5 to be added to paragraph 5. Town council didn't have a chance to review the proof of that concept. We could, if you wish, you could leave final wording up to approval of town council.
Now, I want to invite Mark to comment on this because he went through this whole process with the point.
Again, I still don't have a problem as long as it's not a sale to another entity where Mr. LaPoli will not be involved. It's just like we did up at the point, as Myron remembers correctly. Mr. Park had a couple of different partners in there, one of them being Donald, Market Basket. He did come before us when he sold that parcel to Market Basket, but each parcel has a different partnership deal. He just informed us of it and we just moved on from it. So I don't see this as a problem at all.
That being said, can I hear a motion? Well, first of all, any other comments from any of the board members? And if not, can I hear a motion to
Approve and endorse.
Approve it subject
approve and
to.
endorse the covenant with the proviso that town council agrees to the
Final word.
the final wording of the final, change proposed by the owner. Can I hear a motion?
Do you need a motion on just the covenant, or is there a separate piece here that you motion on?
So it will be on the covenant, just a motion to endorse the subdivision plans.
I make a motion to approve the covenant subject to final town council review of section 5. And then also to endorse the Mylars.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Mark?
Yes.
Margot?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we're,
And then we sign those tonight.
yeah, I don't wanna pass, let's get it done.
Put the lights back on.
You feel comfortable signing?
Oh, we're gonna take a nap up here.
With the lights on.
I've got a signature page. I think I recommend it, so we can keep moving.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
It's too much.
Three sheets as it comes down. Then we have two signatures on the covenant.
This is the first for you. This is the first plan you've signed.
Yes. Morgan's post.
Okay. Are you speaking on behalf of?
Mark, I think is either watching and or trying to zoom in, but I'm here also as well.
Thanks, Mark.
Sometimes I bring all these.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chair. Myron, thank you for letting me in. I apologize I cannot be there tonight. Are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Yes. So, Mark, our next item is called revised stormwater permit and site plan decision. Can you explain to us what these revisions consist of?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and Town Council on making some minor adjustments to the language in the Planning Board decision for that site plan approval and stormwater permit as it related to some off-site mitigation. We also clarified the correct unit mix. And so this was reviewed by town council, and I believe we were all in agreement that the language works for us as well as the town.
So I think the board is probably primarily interested in the revised unit count.
Sure, yeah, and if we did end up adding one unit from 318 to 319 as we progressed our design, when we originally submitted, it was more of a conceptual blocking plan, and now that we're advancing design as we move towards a construction set, the architect had got a little bit more conservative in kind of the mechanical back of house space, and we were able to identify one additional unit. We also were able to increase the 3-bedroom count, which I know was important to the town and to the board. So the 3-bedroom count did increase. The 2-bedroom count did decrease as a result, and the studios did stay the same. And so the 1-bedrooms were a little bit up.
Was there any, or can there be any consideration of an additional affordable unit? Or designating one of it, not necessarily the 3-bedroom, but designating a unit as an affordable.
I mean, we would, I don't want to say no, but we would probably just keep it at 318 if that extra unit were to be affordable.
Okay. Board, Daryl, you have any comments?
No.
Bartlett? No. Margot?
Happy to see another 3-bedroom.
Yeah, I have no
Okay.
issue.
Okay. The other aspect of this revision was to the allowed transfer of the parcels. There's
That's right.
3 parcels involved. That has been squared away.
Yes, yeah, and thank you, Chair. Yeah, the other point was, right now the applicant with us and Lipoli is just a general, we applied under our general name, but the property will be placed in a, specific LLC that will be controlled by us. So we just added language that it can be transferred to an entity controlled by us, just as that entity that will own the parcels has not been established yet.
Okay. Any other comments?
And I just want to, confirm we have concurrence of town council on all these changes. Right. Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the revised stormwater permit and site plan and allow the transfer of parcels as the negotiations continue.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Well, I'll do Mark.
I'm an aye.
Margot?
Aye.
Bartlett?
Aye.
Daryl?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, it is now past 7:15 and we will open, not a hearing, but an informal discussion of Kimball Farm LNG facility. And who do we have here?
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. Thank you very much. Okay, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening. My name is Mark Riley. I'm an Assistant General Counsel at National Grid. With me is the Project Manager, Jeff Hancock, Environmental Scientist, Matt Wozniak, and his outside consultant, Joe White. So thank you for taking the time to discuss our proposal we have to relocate the LNG vaporization operation that's currently at the 550 King Street to the Kimball Farms location. And I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk about the operation itself, the need for it, how we landed on this location, and then why it makes sense for your board to be the reviewing board. The project is very similar. I don't know if it's identical, but very similar to what's currently at King Street.
Can I stop you there right now? We knew nothing about that facility at King Street.
Okay.
And I regret that they excuse themselves because it's not right that the town knew nothing about that facility there. So
Then before the poll, then it was IBM, right?
I don't think so. Doesn't matter. We don't know. We didn't know.
When was it
So
stated there?
let's put about 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's,
Okay,
it's
so that was forward.
why don't we put up maybe let's put up the layout.
It would have
So-
been easier for you now if we had known about it, because then we would be familiar with it, and you know, it would be sort of a straightforward moving from one place to the next.
So, and I'll give you while he's looking for that, the background. In 2004, we found out, does that go, can you see it? Do you want to?
We don't have control of that one.
In 2004, our gas transmission supplier notified us that they would no longer be supplying us gas to this area, Littleton and the surrounding communities. That kicked off a contingency planning because we have to maintain gas service. These operations provide kind of peak demand, backup peak demand during the winter months. So without that gas supply, we had to mobilize this operation. I don't have the background on why it landed at King Street. We can figure that out when we come back. That's why that operation happened at King Street. We had to continue to supply residents and businesses, et cetera, gas during the winter months. Because of the redevelopment of the property that you were just discussing, our lease is up there. They're not going to renew that. They were gracious enough to give us an additional year because we were pinched. So we had to look for another location, alternative location. We looked at 12 separate sites, not only surrounding this take station, but a couple others as well. So it was a pretty broad look. We found 12 sites. We applied several criteria at each of those sites. Kimball Farms emerged as the superior site for a host of reasons. Maybe if we can look at the larger aerial. So it's obviously remote from the public way. So from a aesthetics or visibility perspective, it's beneficial. It's tucked away. It also is proximate to the gas main, the underground gas main that has to be extended to this operation. Because of that proximity, it's a smaller construction project, and that means shorter duration, less disruption to the public way. So if you can see, the red line is where the gas pipeline will be extended. So it'd be from about Shea Street to that access road to Kimball Farms, and that ends up adjacent to their water plant, I guess it is, in that parking lot. So it's already a disturbed area. There's already an adjacent utility use there. In addition to being remote, there's really no other residential or commercial structures nearby. So it for those reasons and others that maybe Jeff could get into, that location emerges the top choice for us. We think that these types of operations are heavily regulated by the state. The DPU's Division of Pipeline Safety ensures that there's compliance with federal and state safety regulations. At the local level, it's a little less clear. We find commonly, in my experience, that communities, these types of essential service infrastructure are not commonly regulated by zoning laws, and if they are, it's a little ambiguous, and I think we find that here in Littleton. It's not expressly prohibited. It is a residentially zoned area. But pipes and wires have to be everywhere in every district, so it's regulating it through the zoning is not it's not always a good fit. I guess I'd say. So that creates a little bit of ambiguity. We think given the planning board's experience with reviewing, the technical matters surrounding a project, it makes sense for it to sit with you. You have access to a third-party reviewer if you need it. You have experience with, imposing conditions that ensure, public interest is protected, things like that. So, for those reasons, to be frank, the other idea, we reviewed the bylaw, we talked to the building official, the fire chief. I saw, the ZBA chair, Attorney Gould's submission, where she's recommending that it sit here as well. I think that makes a lot of sense for some of the reasons I just said. I know she mentioned a conditional use permit. We're kind of agnostic as to the mechanism. A site plan review would work as well, as long as the town has an opportunity to dig into the details and review it. But the other idea that I heard was a use variance in front of the zoning board, and to be frank, it gives us a lot of heartburn because that's a discretionary decision that is a heightened risk of denial, heightened risk of appeal, heightened risk of delay, which we really can't afford when we're trying to get this operation stood up and in service for the following heating season.
Jeff, can I interject here? Since I've been here so long, can I kind of relate to what he just said? I've been thinking long and hard about justifying putting a commercial entity in a residential neighborhood, how we can come to that good. And you hit it right on the head when you said there's a lot of other utilities that have done this in the past, and I've been on the board for 34 years, and I've approved a couple of them that have, and I'm going to share it with the board because they probably don't even know that we did it. There's a AT&T substation, phone station, whatever you want to call it, on King Street, right next to Shattuck Street, that's been there for 60, 70 years. They did an expansion and everything else that came before the planning board. We approved because it's a necessary enhancement, as you put, to the services that are being provided. There's also the telephone tower that's up on the top of Town Road. That's residential. That was put in the 60s for national defense, or whatever you want to call it. So that's how I get around putting a commercial entity in a residential. It's needed to support the residential. So I don't have a problem with this because that's exactly where the.
So we recently approved a water department. We approved several water departments.
Yes, same thing. We need it for our infrastructure.
One thing that I think you need to, for anyone who's watching and anyone who's interested, first of all, I should disclose I live in that neighborhood. I'm very, very familiar with the site. I walk my dogs there frequently. And it is very out of the way. And also, I am a gas customer, and I have an interest in having my house heated during the coldest days of winter. But you need to back up a little bit and assume, because this is an informal discussion, but it is televised, and describe the nature of this. I don't think people realize that it's essentially mobile. Correct. It's seasonal. And we did see in the lower right-hand corner, you see the diagram of the tanks that are basically on truck beds. And it's, because I fielded some calls from my neighbors when they saw this, and it sounds a lot scarier than it is.
Yeah, and I meant to touch on that earlier. Thank you for reminding me. So this is a purely seasonal operation. There will be no permanent structures. There will be no permanent alteration to the property. He's trying to find a schematic that will show it's a trailer with wheels. The storage units are are on wheels. They're left for the season, so they'll be rolled on in November and they'll be rolled off in April. Site will be restored and no one would know there was anything there. So there's nothing permanent about it. I think there'll be 4 storage units, 1 vaporizer, then there'll be associated, appurtenances and equipment to make it all run. The storage units have liquefied natural gas in it. The vaporizer vaporizes that into gas and then injects it into the system. That's why the pipeline has to be extended down, and it'll have a kind of a manifold that comes out of the ground. That'll be the only permanent thing, but it'll just look like a little pipe coming out of the ground.
If these are rolled on seasonally, what is that like? I mean, those are pretty big things that you're talking about rolling through a residential community. And also, I understand that all energy transmission and storage like this comes with risk, but given that it's a temporary unit, aren't a lot of those risks heightened? You're jostling around some.
No, I will say that this operation for both Grid and Eversource is quite common throughout the Commonwealth. I don't know how many we have. We can maybe gather those numbers, but it's a common way to back up the distribution system.
This is similar to the big tank that's out by Route 3 in Boston, right? That's LNG, comes in off the tank.
The Dorchester unit?
Yeah.
That is LNG.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
this is very, and we can pull some of that as well, but very good safety record. There's no, National Grid is hyper-focused on safety. It's I think, what we call process safety is kind of an end-to-end look at making sure everything is safe. The transport of these is a very, very good safety record. So I don't, there isn't a heightened risk. I mean, so relative to what I'm it's a safe operation.
Given that it's going to be about 1,000 feet from a nursery school, I guess we want to make sure, not obviously in a residential area, but also that proximity to a nursery school. I feel like Board of Health needs to have some perspective on this.
I want to just continue so you prepare for the safety things. What's the disaster blast radius of that? What kind of, when you pressurize, when it's coming off of the primary, is it the one that has the odor in it, or is it on the other side? I want you to address the safety issues around that, and not that you have a good safety record. We're not questioning that. It's what happens if something goes wrong. How big of I hate to say it, a blast area is subject to it here in terms of concerns, and I have that same shared concern that we have a daycare center that's right at the intersection of the road, one of the roads that leads right up to that if there was some type of emergency and emergency vehicles are there, access to the daycare is also impeded during an emergency.
Why are we just talking about the daycare?
Well, I just use that.
My house is closer to it than the daycare.
You've lived your
I'm
life.
more concerned
You've
about
lived your life.
You're within the blast radius, and you're going to be taken. No, but anyway,
as far as
I'd like you just to address, the considerations of those, so that we can understand that.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, but it sounds as if Mr. Baker thinks that the access and egress is on 119 in Littleton, and I think they need to describe for you that it is not. The access
I'm
and
just
egress
looking at
is
there's a
on
road from 119 that goes right up to there.
It's not on 119. The road is 110, and I don't think they've made it clear
This
because
is basically
this is
completed to some level.
This is the road that's called the bus entrance at Kimball Farm. That's the road they'll be using, not the one in Littleton.
It doesn't connect to 119.
And I don't think the presentation.
I have the Google
But
Maps.
I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate.
The pipeline, the red line.
Well, this is not only the questions I'm going to ask, it's the questions we're going to receive from the community, because people, even though it's blocked off there, sorry if they're trespassing on Kimball's property, but we know people ride their bikes up that, up that road and stuff there. People walk up that way, so it's a real, real thing. And then I want to just, for your sake, you introduced Attorney Gould. She's not representing the ZBA tonight. She's just representing Kimball's
That's
on
correct.
there. You said she was representing the ZBA when you introduced her.
That was a mistake.
I just wanted to clarify that for the
Yeah.
record,
ZBA chair,
there,
but
that she's not representing the ZBA tonight.
But I think that the generalized safety, we need to be educated on that. And once again, this facility has been here for 2 years. None of us knew about it. It's not right. So we have to, when we go forward, we need to know more.
Do you need a special convoy to bring these out, or they just go over the road? You don't have
Everything is over the road. It's essentially a tractor trailer as far as the length and the size of it. That picture is from a site that we have down the Cape, which helps backfeed the Cape, as well as one of our, similar to Dorchester, facility down in South Yarmouth. To speak to safety, as Mark mentioned, we have a very rigorous process of safety, more so than most LDCs. What you see on the screen here is what we call the facility siting. We also did something very similar for 550 King Street. As part of our process, this is just our standard procedure. What you see in this, without pulling up the entire report, is it analyzes all the mechanical connections, all the potential release of gas, release of LNG, or products that could be flammable or combustible in this case. So when we're talking about blast radius, we're talking about the hazards associated with the operation. Each one of these radius describe the event and the probability. And we're looking at 1 in a million years, 1 in 10 million years. So that's kind of what we're looking at. When we go to look at these sites, as Mark mentioned, we looked at basically a dozen sites. We then prioritize those to hydraulic needs, so where they best fit in the system and where it'll feed the best. When we initially started doing this, there was property out towards Lunenburg. However, at the tail end of the system, or at least our system, it doesn't get to this area. It feeds a small portion. Also because we only have a 60-pound system out there. So as far as the central location, we looked at Acton, but we're on that side of it too. So there's that sweet spot between the middle where hydraulically we're able to serve 19 towns. So it's not just Littleton or Westford. There's 19 towns that we serve in our west area. If this doesn't take place, 13,000 customers potentially lose gas service amongst those communities. So as you mentioned, you live there and you like your heat. Personally, a couple of years ago, I lost power, lost heat, got my kids out of the house because it was in freezing degrees and I had to deal with frozen pipes and stuff like that. As a steward for our customers, it's my responsibility to make sure people don't lose heat.
So could you describe under what conditions this gas would enter the system?
Absolutely. So the reason I mentioned that is we ran 3 times this year when it was -3, -8. And what our goal is it's called the design day. It's based on 65 degrees that would heat someone's house. And then we deduct it from there. So basically when it's 0, that's when we go online. And there's a little bit of flexibility. If it gets down to 10 degrees or something like that, we can forecast it. But our intent is to ensure that during peak hours, morning hours, evening hours, when people are typically at home or businesses are operating, depending on the location, that we're supplying gas supply. So we're obligated to do that, but part of that isn't just on a whim. So we spent, to get to this location, 550 specifically, a few years ago, we spent 3.5 months analyzing multiple options, modifying take stations, pipeline, a lot of things to meet the need for that season. That's when we went with a portable option. Did the same exact thing. So the daycare that's down the road at the end of Shea Street on the corner there is outside of these contours is what we call them.
So we are very deliberate on identifying any single, like a flange connect, a bolted connection that could have a leak. We include how many of those, how many components on the trucks. And to your point, as far as travel and safety and vibration during transport, they're stainless welded primarily. All those connections are stainless welded. There are a couple of fittings that have threaded joints, so those get leak tested. But welded is a lot more secure than having a lot of mechanical joints. And it's built that way specifically, so that way, due to the nature of those vessels and those components.
So this is no different than really the infrastructure that's under the roadways. It's all natural gas.
So to Mark's point, this comes in as liquid, essentially gets heated up, vaporized, and goes out as natural gas. The way we developed and planned the site is when this all gets picked up at the end of at the end of March, when the season's over, all the trucks, all that goes, there's no piping, and we now designed it so it's all the piping's below grade. So this is exactly it. We've made provisions to feed our 200-pound system, which is the primary goal, to distribute to regulator stations and serve the 19 communities. On this one specifically, we also made provisions to have a 60-pound system. Liquid natural gas, LNG, is at negative 260 degrees. So anything above that, it's going to start vaporizing into gas. Our intent is to reclaim all that so we don't have any environmental exposures by venting. So we want to control both aspects of it. So that's why on one of the other screens, there's a 60-pound system as well. So to your point, most of the pipeline that you drive on 110 or wherever, you're driving over like 200-pound or 60-pound gas lines. And
why I brought that up is because I used to live on King Street, 242 King Street. Your pipelines used to go over the bridge for 495. They've been doing it for 50 years. You have a leak there. You've had a leak there for probably 40 years. And because of the movement of the bridge, once in a while it leaks and you can smell it. So all it does is it goes up into the atmosphere, and it's not flammable because it's so open to the atmosphere. And all the gas companies would do, I don't know if it was National Grid or who would put dirt on it because they couldn't get to the connection at the bridge. And so once in a while they would come and they would repair it and put dirt, or you could smell it, or I could smell it, and I'd call the gas company, or somebody else would call the gas company, and they'd come because of the expansion joints of the bridge. It would expand with that. And the best way to fix it was to cover it up with dirt to mitigate it, but it was never a health or a safety issue. It dissipates in the atmosphere.
And that's a good point, because we grade leaks on severity and then monitor them based on that. But you'll be happy to know we actually have a whole consent order program where we're replacing pipe on bridges. So
I think you probably
but as far as we were discussing, so LNG will not just combust. It'll leak out and vaporize, but to your point, it's combustible or it's flammable at the right mixture. You need all the components, just like the fire triangle. I think we've all learned about at some point. But you need all the components to come together. So, as you mentioned, small leak, there's your fuel source. However, you're not in the right mixture. So.
Can I also point out something too that hasn't been mentioned yet? So again, Matt Wozniak, environmental engineer. National Grid has 7 permanent LNG facilities, and I manage the environmental compliance and permitting at those. And we have a half dozen of these portable units. As Mark was mentioning, most of the year it's just going to be a parking lot with a fence. We do not store full tanks of LNG at this property all winter long. What we do is we anticipate the demand is going to go up when the temperatures go down, and so we'll bring a full truck or two to a site. When the demand exceeds the supply, we inject the vaporized LNG into the system. So the trucks come on site full, and then once they get on site, we vaporize it and empty them, and then they leave site. So we do not store LNG at this site for an extended period of time. It comes on site, it gets vaporized, then it leaves. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear.
Is it like a gas tanker? It's probably bigger than that, but it's the same idea.
It's a typical gas tanker size.
Is it by any chance made by FIBA, which is a local company that does LNG tankers?
So actually, it's we go to Applied Cryo Technologies, and they're in Texas.
I think theirs are smaller. They're not as big.
But the reason we went to them is, I won't name the company's names. We've had issues with other equipment,
Okay.
which we don't tolerate.
Yeah.
So we're having them build some of it, new equipment for us now. And we have full-time weld inspection, oversight inspection as our representatives, as well as their QA/QC. So we're duplicating efforts because it's in Texas. We can't be down there all the time. But we specifically picked them because they are the premier.
There's a lot of natural gas produced in Texas.
But that's exactly it. And so, Mark mentioned this equipment, we use it to supplement the gas to provide for our customers. This type of operation is done a lot of times, especially like in the West, down in Texas and stuff, where they do major pipeline or transmission pipeline repairs, shutdowns, whatever the case is, they still need to supplement it. So they do it on a pretty considerable scale, more so than we do for a longer durations. As Matt pointed out, that we did 2 weekends in January and 1 weekend in February this year. So we brought the trucks on site, loaded up the LNG on between Thursday and Friday, split the loads. So there's only a couple of trucks coming in per day. And then Saturday and Sunday, and then one of in February, I think it was Sunday and Monday, that we vaporized. And
So the image I had was that you, at the beginning of the season, you parked these full tankers, but that's not
correct.
This
Correct.
is simply
equipment
a
comes on
way
site.
to transfer the LNG into the system.
On an as-needed basis, correct, absolutely.
So LNG is a cryogenic liquid. It's minus 260 degrees, but it expands 600 times so that you're allowed. It's a very efficient way to transport and supply natural gas to the system. So we don't have to use a lot of trucks.
So I have one more anecdotal 242 King Street story about natural gas. So you have 200-pound lines running over the bridge to feed everybody. 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, they were putting signs on the bridge to get on off 195 right there, and they accidentally punctured 200-pound. So it was full-blown 200 pounds. It's coming straight up in the air. It was a cloud. I mean, it was because it was 200 degrees below whatever. And there was no explosion. There was no, I mean, it was amazing when it was coming out, but there was no issue with it blowing up or no issue with the safety. They evacuated it. They made me leave and everything else like that, and evacuated everybody, but they obviously shut it off very quickly, but it wasn't like there was a fear it was going to blow up. So it takes a lot to blow this thing up.
But even before things blowing up, like were people suffering headaches? What did that do to like the?
Well, first of all, that was
why were you evacuated? Probably wasn't healthy.
Because there was a chance that if somebody lit it on fire, it would blow up. But I mean,
That's a precautionary thing.
as a
We work with
precaution,
fire
I don't
department.
even think you could light this thing. It was so cold.
No, it's going to 200 pounds, the velocity that it's actually coming out at, and that's sort of why it clouds over, not to get to whatever, but by the time it got to the point, you're 50 feet high. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and natural gas, it's lighter than air regardless, but kind of aside here, I was a captain on my fire department, and so we would do training with utilities, but exactly like that. That's, we got to, when all the anthrax stuff was going on, someone found an envelope and looked like powder, so, just our procedure is you evacuate. Because obviously life safety is what we're doing, and very similar with the gas company. That's why we do like what we do. So, if you look at dispatch notices for leaks and something like that, and then the fire department's ton of
first responders and stuff like that. So we work closely, as Mark already mentioned. We're working with the captain, de Blasio, currently. He was assigned by the chief, but we're in communication with both Westford, Littleton.
That was my question, because the access is literally through Westford, and the actual transfer happens in Littleton, but everything else happens in Westford.
Yep.
So they're aware, they're in the loop.
Yes. So we have project engagement departments, customer and community departments, both of which have been working with DPW, fire, and then some other town officials, depending on who they're working with. So.
And I also filed an RDA with the Westford Conservation Commission. We've had 2 hearings. We met with them last night. It was continued. We've been in consultation with Natural Heritage, and we're awaiting a letter from them. And that's what the Conservation Commission is waiting for to close the hearing. I met with the Littleton Conservation Commission on Tuesday. We filed an NOI. They're in the process of scheduling a site visit and reviewing our plans. So they're, both Westford and Littleton are involved.
What's the radius of those various circles?
I'd have to pull up the full report, to be honest, but I can provide that information. Sure, I think we would have had similar consultations 2 years ago, right, with the police chiefs or the fire chiefs and stuff like that. To my point that there's some ambiguity when you start to apply zoning, I think perhaps the reason why it didn't appear before this board is that there was a determination that no relief was needed or no review was needed from the commercial, from the zoning bylaw perspective.
We still,
but again, I don't know. I'm speculating a little bit there. So what's involved?
It's unfortunately water under the bridge, but the community, we do these site plan reviews to allow the community to be educated and weigh in. Anyway, so
I got a couple of
comments.
Go ahead. There. So currently, it's an undeveloped site there, which alleviates some concerns on it, but it's currently zoned residential. At one time, there was a 40B development proposed in there that they let lapse there, but it's still subject to future development. So while it's empty now, it's not empty, forever on it. And I'd like to make sure we understand, what kind of radius around this should we be considering that we would need to be perhaps restricting residential development so that residential doesn't encroach onto this piece of the property here. The other part, and you said operationally you don't store, but I would probably want to make sure that we see something that storage is not allowed, that you don't change your operating procedure, that you want to then store, do longer term storage of products.
We have storage on site, we have personnel on site, we have operators there 24/7 when the tanks are there.
Right, but I mean, the way you described it operationally, you come in, you empty the tank, and then you drive it off there. But that's an operational procedure, not. I would probably want to make that codified into some kind of requirement that it's not, that if new set of management comes in, they decide to want to park the tanker there and leave it because you two aren't working there anymore. That's not something that we're going to deal with in the future.
That we've worked with Captain de Blasio as far as I'm trying to remember that there's an alphanumeric permit specifically for storage of propane, fuels, stuff like that. So we worked that. He determined that wasn't applicable because of the nature of it, and we'll work on trying to get how that's written with our subject matter expert. It's something we just don't do.
I think what the suggestion is, if there's a planning board decision on it,
Daryl
would like to have that as a condition.
And
that's absolutely. Yeah, you include that.
Not just what the fire chief tells you that you can or can't do. Again, those could change operationally over time. These are things I want to need to see embodied.
No, please. I'd welcome that as a order conditions,
And,
that's a good one for
you know,
us.
and I know you can't speak to it, but I don't know if Attorney Gould can speak to any of the development plans for the rest of the parcel. Representing Kimball Farms.
Thank you for clarifying. I am not here as any.
Yeah, no.
The Kimballs have no plans for developing that area of the property and residential development there. And I suspect a restriction on residential development would not be opposed. I'd have to check with them, but
So
in their
then we wouldn't have
radius.
to worry about a residential development happening in here, and then it, like in some of your other areas, residential really becomes too close. Because I would like to see something like
site because of its
right
in the middle.
I think those would be the types of things, I'm saying it to you because you're representing Kimball's there, that I would like probably see some sort of restriction on residential development.
Within a radius, as we're talking about it.
And what time period are we?
wrong
This is a lease, but it's, how long are you going for? I mean,
So we have 10 years proposed with 2 one-year extensions. In that time, I'll back up a little bit. So our agreement with Sal Lupoli and their team was a 1-year lease with 2 6-month extensions, which we had to enact while we were working on relocating. As Mark mentioned, they were opposed back in August last year when we started working, actually, I'm sorry, May. They were opposed to extending the lease anymore. And then, given this current situation and our need to provide for our customers, we had to come up with a contingency plan. So that was a directive.
presumably they're a large customer of yours.
I'm sorry?
They're a large customer of yours, even the existing building, but with the new development, they have an interest in.
Yes.
So you've alluded to the sort of regulatory framework for which we, as a planning board, can go along with this use in a residential zone. We have 2 attorneys here that could maybe make the case.
Actually, this is no different than the cell towers.
Okay, and we have 3 attorneys here that can make the case.
This is no different than the cell towers. We allow cell towers on residential because it's a utility.
Yeah, but there's additional safety concerns associated
Just with a little
with
more
this.
safety.
Given that our climate action plan has a section on gas leaks, and forgive me, I don't know if that is a sustainability thing or a Board of Health thing, but it seems like in the interest of better communication around this than we had or didn't have 2 years ago, we need to review it in that context as well.
Well, the purpose of whatever hearings we undertake will be, and it would be in the form of a site plan review, get to any use that would come into the town, and that would go into detail of all the things we talked about, in addition to security fencing, lighting, this, that, the other thing. The interesting thing you said is a 24-hour staffing when it's being used. All these things have to come into play to make people comfortable with this in the community. And once I gotta go back to the fact that it's been in our community and we didn't know about it. And it's a little mad.
So I think, considering this as an informal discussion, it's an opportunity to raise some of the points that we, are talking.
We'll be focusing on.
That we'll be focusing on, yes.
But I think that I maybe speak for the board that we are, as a planning board, willing to go through this process without saying how it's going to turn out. But, we will be willing to consider, as a planning board, the process.
We can handle it on a site plan level, I agree.
Yeah.
So you also have a stormwater permit application for the associated parking lot.
Can those be reviewed concurrently, or is it a
Yes,
separate
that's the
process?
preference. And I didn't want to spend their money on a peer review of the stormwater if there wasn't a clear
Right.
path.
When are you anticipating needing this, by November, December?
Truth be told, it would have been for this November. However, having to pivot, we'd like to construct during this time. So actually, we don't have any real impact on Kimball's operation or high traffic area during the summer. So that construction would be taking place over the winter time. That gets us operational for 27, 28 as a start.
Well, you'll have to do road improvements into the Kimball's Road there, aren't you?
So-
'Cause that's
So
kind of a
Mascot-
rough dirt road when I drive around to the driving range.
That's exactly it. So that's part of it too. So for accessibility and safety, we do our due diligence to try and think of things. So a tanker full of LNG gets stuck because it goes off in a gravel road. You know what I mean? That's tough. And anyone that's plowed anything, gravel is tough. So by paving the surface, obviously it's more beneficial for safety and reliability to make sure we have access and it's easy enough to plow.
And that's
So-
why we filed the RDA with the Comcast in Westford.
So what's gonna happen to this one? Will it stay at Napoli until you open here?
So if you go to Napoli right now, it's a parking lot. We still have the perimeter fence up, so you made comments
Well,
about.
driving by, I used to see the fence going, what's going on back there?
But that's not to be coy on it, but that's our intent. We had a site in Rhode Island that unfortunately we were so close to the street, you couldn't help but notice what was going on, right? And we're all aware that there's different thoughts behind gas. So we keep that in mind and look for areas that are secluded, so that way, we're not putting it in everyone's face that we're doing this kind of stuff, and trying to choose the most optimal location for ourselves. For as we mentioned with Kimball, we took a long time to make sure that residents walking weren't going to all of a sudden just walk into this parking lot all fenced off and stuff like that. We talked about, so you mentioned security and lighting, so we have provisions in the plan for that, including, which we have to for security during the operation, is to have barbed wire. Every year, if this goes, we have a contractor that'll come in and remove all the barbed wire, so there's no liability if someone decides to jump over a barbed wire fence. So that's one of the things that we've worked out in conjunction with Kimball, is to try and determine the what ifs or the unknown unknowns. So we welcome any other thoughts, because I think we're all aware that you can't think of everything. So
So is this something that you do, like a 2-level fencing, maybe a greater exterior perimeter and then your barbed wire inside, so that if somebody was walking through the woods, they would come up to your barbed wire fence?
so it comes up on no. We would have to extend our footprint even more so. So what we have is a privacy screen, and then, as you said, you went by it, so you can't really see through it. But it's 8 feet high, and then barbed wire. So, given that it's a winter operation and just doing some layout on site this winter, there'd only be two. The south side, or the side towards Old Cottage Road, or Stagecoach.
Stagecoach.
Thank you. And then the access road towards the water treatment plant. Those are the only two sides that you would actually be able to access in the winter time anyways. Or get near, I should say.
We're trying to maintain it in the existing footprint of the parking lot. That keeps us out of the 50-foot buffer. There's a 50-foot perimeter buffer to the wetlands. So we're trying to make it as compact as possible.
Is this the only such thing in the 19-town area that you serve, or is there another place where they have placed storage tanks?
So not portable. The reason behind, the whole reason this came up is the transmission company, one of the transmission companies that we work with, just work on their line. And they said, we're shutting it down. And then unfortunately it just turned into a contractual where we weren't able to use that line anymore. So we had to come up with that alternative. That's why we spent that 3.5 months trying to figure out the options. So for this area specifically, and as I mentioned, further towards the west, it gets down to a 60-pound system. So it's really hard to feed a system from that end of it. So that's where when I was saying hydraulically speaking, this is kind of the key location. I did get a notice my battery was going to die. I just wanted to get back to, we were talking about those radiuses. Let me see if I can.
300 feet.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to, there we go. So essentially we're talking, the exponential, that's where, we're coming up with the one event in a million years, 10 million, 100 million years. So this considers offsite. So back to daycare or the other businesses, Sullivan Tire, stuff like that, or even Kimball for that matter. We look at offsite impact as well as actually on-site. So even though we have personnel, trained operators on site, we still need to consider that risk as well. So there's not an overlay showing the way they do the reports. There's not an overlay showing these dimensions with the overlay, but I could probably get something together.
Yeah, so the other part I'd be interested in is what's the if there was an incident, what's the typical evacuation zone that you require around an event? Like if it's across the street from Mark's house, clearly his house was within the radius. Is there typical radiuses for evacuation based on different events that you have?
I will get that information from the
fire department. I'd like that overlaid on the map.
Yeah, I'll get that from the fire department. I don't want to speak for them and what their policies are regarding this. So if that works for you, we get that information. We can overlay that on the site.
Yeah, definitely depending on the wind, because this
yeah.
vaporizes.
Yeah, no, I'm looking mainly in terms of what would be, is it 10 feet, 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet.
Yeah, so depending on what their response time would be is what we would dictate that.
And then I'd like that overlaid on the map so that when we're talking about, where should we make sure that we don't have additional development, that we take that into account.
Sure, okay. We can do that.
Can I open it up to any other questions? Joanne? Yeah.
It's informal.
I'm wondering about lighting. Like, can it be dark sky compliant so that the lights are low temperature Kelvin and not left on all night? They're just like motion sensitive lighting. So when they're not on unless there's a person there who needs to see. And also noise. Like how loud will it be? Maybe not have it be noisy at all?
Again, another benefit of the location, we're away from everything. The vaporizer's running gas, so if you ever heard like a generator, like a auxiliary generator for a building or something, it's tough to equate as far as we don't have like a decibel, register. But regarding the lighting, we have discussed that as far as the warm lighting. There's a couple of aspects. So those past 3 weekends, we were on site at midnight to prepare to come online for 4 a.m. to make sure that happens. So unfortunately, we're out there when it's below freezing, sleeting, snow, lousy, dark. So what we discussed is having lighting provisions that we control. So when the operation's happening, it's safe for us to operate. The last thing we want to do is put anyone at risk. But that being said, it's not a free-for-all in daylight. The light also is focused into the site. So we've got our engineering firm showing the spread. So it's focused on the site because of the surrounding area, close to the wooded area. We didn't want it, I forget the term.
Light trespass.
Light clutter.
Yeah, so.
So with the noise, that's only when you're charging when you're vaporizing the gas. So
When those
that's
vaporizers
every
are-
now and then during these extremely cold events.
Yes,
So,
so when
like
the
it's
vaporizers
going-
are running, that's when there'll be noise.
And then, but with the light, is that going to be security the whole time that you're installed there? Or?
Only when people are working there?
Well, you're gonna bring the tanks in as you need
We
it.
have a good light all the time.
Yeah.
We have a lighting plan that we submitted
Okay.
to Natural Heritage
Yeah,
as part of the Mesa
yeah,
checklist.
I would, there was a lot of wildlife back there.
Yes, and so we imagine they're gonna comment and we'll address the lighting to
So
the
like, I
satisfaction.
guess what I'm asking is, it sounds like most of the time, there's no people there. So when there's no people there, can we have no lights on there?
We have our equipment there, and for safety and security, that's a security question that we have to.
But if there's no person there,
But they,
is the light benefiting? Can we just have the lights be like motion sensitive when nobody is there?
Yeah,
And then when
we've
you're
looked-
there and
Yeah,
it's
we've looked at a
sleeping,
couple of
obviously-
aspects. We'll be prepared, that'll be part of our submission.
Right.
Yeah,
We'll
and
make
I
sure
think-
we have a light plan.
and this is
I
what
think-
we would do in any site plan.
Yeah, and you know, and I think we'd prefer that, you know, if there needs to be ambient lighting, it's low intensity lighting versus the high intensity lighting while you're, you know, you need the trucks lit while you're doing it. But, you know, I don't think we want, you know, Neshoba ski area lighting 24/7.
There isn't gonna be much lighting, cause we never knew it was behind the building, so we haven't seen it in
Right,
2
but-
years.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it.
But we're gonna make sure it's permitted this time. And then the other concern is again, make sure you quantify the sound, the high pitched tone in the winter is going to carry a little bit, so we need to probably have some characterization of the sound pollution from that. Particularly, maybe it's deep enough that it wouldn't hit the residents, but it'd be nice again to have an overlay of where, you know, what the sound level
You might
tables out
wanna
there.
look at our cell tower bylaw, that'll tell you what our decibels and for the generators that service the cell towers, that'll probably be the same for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, our
And
permanent
screening.
facilities, you know, that are much bigger than this, they have residences across the street and in very close proximity, so these, you know, I think we can alleviate your concerns.
When I was in Westford, the fans from the Phil Lumber place that's on 27 was a great concern because of how high pitched it was when they upgraded to the higher efficiency ones, and the neighbors noticed it immediately. So again, those are the types of things that we new sounds introduced, but also making sure that they're not the irritating type that carries.
So,
Sounds like you'll be marching orders.
Sorry, for clarification, are we looking for decibel or are we looking for pitch?
I think be sensitive to that when you come back to us. I don't have the technical question formed yet
We
for you.
can try to address
But
both.
We do
you know,
have a
but
sound bylaw.
you understand what I'm talking about.
Sound
So.
bylaw.
The cell tower is by decibel, so, and how you screen the noise and stuff like that. It's- it'll all be-
But very low frequencies tend to carry a long way, and the high pitch in the winter, there's no trees that are going to stop it. So those are just particularly irritating ones. Into almost, you have to watch what decibel level carries to what level on those. But we're very attuned to being irritated by those. And I don't know what the technical specification of that is, but it sometimes speaks more to.
As a resident of that area, I would say that we're attuned to 495 being irritating. So, you know, I don't want to dismiss, you know, concerns, but Rob.
Rob Brown's Juniper Road, so I'm all for the forward and appreciate the professionals and all the volunteers working on this. But I do find myself curious and interested in knowing what happened 2 years ago, and just to become informed so that there's not X years from now, another 2 years ago, something happened. So I don't know where to go to scratch that itch.
My assumption is because that's a commercial industrial area in where Sal's is currently zoned, that there was no permitting required.
My guess is they went to the building inspector.
Yeah, right, and the building
Couple of years
inspector
ago,
looked up
said
that that was an allowed use
Yeah.
and just issued the building permits.
And I know we didn't have wetlands because we did surveys.
There was no structure.
There's no, that's it, there's no structure, it's temporary, but still, you know.
Yeah, I think exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying, but still, it does seem to me like somewhere in some part of governance of Littleton, maybe this is something that has to be raised by somebody in order to at least make us more aware, and potentially that awareness and consideration of that awareness would lead to some other things so that similar things can't happen in the future. I recognize that's not necessarily your responsibility, but it's a concern.
Mr. Chair, I just want to commend your admin, Maren Toohill, who was the one who actually led the charge and said, I know it's not really anywhere specifically in the bylaw, but I think it would be a good idea if we brought it to the planning board because they're the most proficient at doing this. So kudos to you, Maren.
All right, great.
Can we schedule a formal hearing? Would you be ready with, you know, like a site plan review?
Let me put, when would you be ready?
Yeah, when would you be ready? Based on our discussion today of the things that we're going to be looking at.
No, it sounds like you want to do it. Board of Health.
Our next meeting is in 2 weeks.
So we, as Matt stated, we had the natural heritage, and then you're back at Concom.
Yeah, the second before the Concom again. So we could have some things, certainly more information by the 4th. Site plan review, we need the civil plans. We submitted the stormwater application, so we have a lot of civil plans, but I think there were some specific requirements for site plan review that aren't included in stormwater permit, so we might have to tighten those up. Okay. Do you want to commit to 2 weeks, or is that too soon?
I think 2 weeks is unrealistic, to be honest with you.
Might be aggressive.
It'd be lightning speed to get.
July
If you could put us on the agenda for June 25th, and
well, that's an extra meeting.
That was
and
an
I-
extra meeting.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
won't be here, so how about July 9th?
Oh, a regular meeting?
Yeah. We're up against summer plans with the extra meetings.
Okay. If that's the case, then yeah, we schedule.
And if we have everything that you could possibly, every question that we had, you could possibly answer at that meeting. You know,
That's why I think June 4th might be a little too soon.
If you get it all before us, we can obviously send it to peer review and everything else so by July 9th.
I was going to say July, you have peer review too, so that's a couple of process.
So do July 9th.
And presumably for peer review, you'd have to have engineering plans.
It's not much though, it's a parking lot. That's it.
Right, so we have those, we
Stormwater
had,
peer review is ready to go.
Okay.
It's not gonna be a lot to this, there's no structure.
no,
The fire department's gonna weigh in, we'll send it off to them, it's not a whole lot.
If there's any perception we're rushing on this, I think to your point, like, people in the community are gonna be like, hey, hold the bus.
Yeah.
We need to have perspective.
People want gas though. They're not gonna get gas.
No, I think we're okay. It sounds like they're willing to
Thought it was hard. So we have at least something real.
answer our questions.
so,
Alright, can we go now?
so just, this is where we were at in February. I requested, we have a site plan, we also have the pipeline designs. Our engineering is broken up into 2 different aspects, so we'll get both sets of those, I'd expect them, but
So we get these drawings, we post them to a project page, and that's the way the community, whoever's interested can, you know, weigh in on this.
all right, so we do have CEII, so critical infrastructure. There's aspects we can't disclose, depth of pipe, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So everything you submit to the planning board will be public record. If there's information that you're working on with the fire department, then that you don't have to submit that to the planning board.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's going to be a permit, so we've already applied for it. We've applied for both 550 King Street as well as Kimball in preparation. And then the captain will archive the Kimball because it's not active.
And you'll do this with Westford also, or?
Oh, it's all.
There's no activity in Westford, so they haven't required us to do any permitting. Yeah.
Oh, no, not the permitting, but with the fire department.
Already done, yeah. Yeah, so we've been talking to them for months now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will have to work out what we can and cannot.
Sure.
Include
It's
in the
fine.
drawings.
I'm just saying this is what we will do with the drawings.
No, absolutely. So I want to make sure that we're making sure you have what you need when you need it and not causing a delay. So what I'll do is I'll work on what we have now and then just work with the engineering firms because what you can see on the screen, unfortunately, probably small, is a lot of what we'd be doing, showing fencing, showing the location of the equipment, showing the pipelines coming in and stuff like that. So we just have to, because it is public, that's the only.
Yeah, and the only request is the same one I made of Lipoli is, can you give us a consumer-friendly version of that picture? You know how they did the sketch with the sketch overlaid on
Basically
the
more of a
thing,
diagram.
rather than in addition to the engineering drawing, a consumer-friendly one that shows it sort of so that we can see it a little bit more clearly. You know, we don't need all the contour lines, you know.
So let me ask you, would this be? Something you're thinking of?
Yeah, something more like that.
But maybe zoomed out so that we have the context of where the rest of the road, you know, and a zoomed in one and a context one so that we can see where it is relative to the neighborhoods and the businesses that are around there.
Does this image work for you?
Yes. Although I think several board members were interested in extending the view to the south.
Old Stagecoach Road shows some of that proximity. Okay.
And that would give a more complete picture of how empty that whole area is.
Put maybe, you know, just a, you know, 1,000-foot line, 2,000, you know, something that, so we understand the dimension on it, you know, from, like, how far is it from your thing to, what's the, in back of the Great Square there? There's a.
No, I understand. So 700 feet gets us to here. Whoops.
Yeah, so if you could put like a 500-foot line or something on there, just so we kind of know what, you know.
Would you prefer a view like this to show those contours for
Yeah, so if all those get.
They can be separate drawings, but I guess Daryl is saying more
rather than an engineering view, this view.
Yeah.
Look, that's I think where we're.
Yeah, we don't need the topography in it or the other parts there. I'm really interested in the whatever existing roadways, businesses, houses, you know.
Daycare center.
Great. No, good guidance. Thank you.
Yeah, and that would just make it easier for us to digest it. Peer review will handle that you're 3 inches off on this elevation or whatever. That's not what I'm going to look at. And then any audience members can then go, wait a minute, I saw Jeff's house, but I'm more concerned about my house. Where is that?
Did you have any images of the installation of 550 King?
We do, yes.
And that would be really useful.
Well, so the only caveat to that is we use vendor equipment. So it's a different.
It's just to give people a general idea.
Yep. So if we hopefully.
Yeah, and if you have pictures of what you are going to plan on using, again, it just helps us, you know, relate to it.
Sure.
Versus the technical specifications.
Sure. Yes. This is the image that would be representative of our site. Obviously, the equipment would be configured differently. But 550 King Street consisted of different equipment entirely, so it wouldn't be an apples to apples comparison.
Okay. Joanne.
The things that you're discussing, would they be received in advance so we could actually see them if they were requested?
Well, we would hope to get them to post, to post to the project page. Now that being said, do we have a time and we have a date? Do we have a time?
we'll put that in the hearing notice for the
Okay,
stormwater.
Because you'll have to post one and everything.
Okay. That being said, thank you very much.
No, thank you, appreciate it.
Sherry, did you have anything else to say?
Do we have, I'm sorry, just the procedure. Do we have to see you again before you can send the plans to peer review? Or can we submit them?
No, Lauren is in the middle of all that. So point of contact, back to you, okay.
It's
What I attempt to do is take some time, instead of 15 different emails, I'll try and get everything together as possible, so.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.
That being the completion of our agenda, do I have a motion to
Adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.